This is my final synthesis for my Freedom Week project in the class Thinking with Buddhists, Professor Dr. Sid Brown. So for this Freedom Week project, I made the decision to focus on meditation and how it relates to Buddhism. Now, I find meditation really interesting because when I look at my background, it doesn't really play too much into my daily life growing up back home in South Africa. I don't think I can name one Buddhist in South Africa. I don't think I could name a Buddhist somewhere else other than the Dalai Lama. And we just were not exposed to Buddhism and meditation in terms of that. And so this Freedom Week was a great opportunity for me to explore that realm and look deeper. I decided after doing some research to focus in on samsara meditation, and this being calmness or mindfulness of breathing. And I found it exciting because I was able to get out of my comfort zone and really dive deeper and try understand it by actually doing it instead of just reading about it or looking at theory. And so the next part for me in this project was, how was I going to accomplish this? What was I going to do, and how was I going to do it, and why would I do it the way that I would do it? And while writing an essay or putting it all down in words can be very effective, I felt the need to go out of the box, to do something different, somewhere where I could articulate how I felt and what I'm doing in a way that allows me to portray it more accurately and show my feelings about how it went and what I'm feeling now afterwards and before and during. And the way that I came to do this project was I would video myself twice a day doing my meditations in the morning at 7:30, in the evening at 7 p.m. And I would put my second phone down, which my old phone I was able to find. And I would record myself while I was listening to the guided meditations, my headphones in. I would turn off most lights. And the funny thing to me was how once I found my zone in the meditation and I was able to calm down and take a few deep breaths, I actually, I really zoned out. I almost felt as if you could have shown a light as bright as the sun in my eyes, and I wouldn't have noticed. And so I did this while recording in my daily log every day, my thoughts and my feelings and what I did and the time I spent doing this project. Obviously, we didn't have class, so that gave a little bit more flexibility, which was nice, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And so I would do this while also looking at an article source. I used the source that was recommended to me by Dr. Sid Brown, and it was by Gil Fronsdale, and what it talked about was how Vipassana movement has grown in America in a more secular way, and how American culture and Western culture has sort of transformed it. And that led to different teachings, and it's interesting because it made it more popular, but at the same time, it took away from the roots of Buddhism. I'll explain that in a little bit of time, but let me get back to my meditation project. And so I did these meditations for around 15, all the way ranging to 26 minutes. and I would assume my meditation position, um, and it was amazing because there were many times where I didn't feel physical effects. Um, I was warned, um, but there were certain times where obviously I did feel physical effects of the meditation, after a long day of exercise or sport or practice. Um, However, the mind was never tired. The mind was always rejuvenated at the end of a meditation, and pre-meditation it was a relief because it felt like I was about to enter a new period or new zone, um, a new frame of mind, which allowed me to really put my focus on you know the meditation. And Buddhism is interesting because I myself identify as a non-denominational Christian, and so there's natural comparisons to be made for me. Um, and so that brings a different perspective or lens that I'm looking through. And I find that a lot of values are shared among the two religions. Um, when looking at loving kindness, equanimity, compassion, it's truly amazing to see how similar the the shared values are, but oftentimes overlooked by many people in the world, especially those who identify with religions but don't practice it, um, or don't deeply commit to it and devote themselves. And what I found with this meditation was, with the devotion, it was a standard set schedule where I committed myself and I showed the proof through video, which I have now uploaded onto YouTube. It is, it's incredible to see the difference, because what I noticed was a difference in myself and the way that I was going about my life at Swanee on a day-to-day basis. And it wasn't so much as a, wow, I noticed a difference. It was more a case of, there's something that I can't put my finger on that's making me feel a lot better, and I need this feeling to keep going. And I think that was that standard routine of meditation where it provided a baseline. It provided a foundation to the way that every day was going about, starting and ending. And it's something that I came to appreciate midweek. I had this kind of thought about it, and I was thinking through a lot of personal issues, and it came out numerous times where it was just, my mind was thinking. It was very similar to the way that, when I'm going through really good periods where I'm staying strong to my Christian faith and I'm praying and reading my Bible, it had very similar characteristics, in a different way though, because while Buddhism shares values, it also, there are definitely differences. With Buddhism, a lot of the time nowadays as well, is a really good partner in fighting against, inequities and racism and climate change, and gender inequality, and discrimination against people with certain sexual identities. And it opened my eyes. Um, it gave me food for thought. It made me question many of the things that I thought were concrete, or that I was told to be, or were simply inferred in social contexts. And these range, there's many different things, in terms of natural conversations with friends or acquaintances, things I'm watching on YouTube, or what I'm reading in the news, or daily interactions with teammates or practice. My mind is starting to make certain connections, and it's starting to think about the way that I'm conducting myself, and how And unfortunately, through this, I'm also judging others through this newfound, lens that I'm looking at. And with this project, it took a lot of time, over 8 hours of my time, which, as much as I do spend that every week, regardless with our class, it felt slightly different because it felt like I was pouring myself emotionally into this project, mentally and at times physically as well. And so it brought a different level of I want to say dedication, a different level where my mind felt like it was being used to full capacity. And it's not something that we encounter on a day-to-day basis. And so, I've never done a Freedom Week project like this. And it's a new concept, but it's one that I really appreciate. Looking back on this week, I can truly say that there weren't any days where I was sad about meditating or was like, "Oh, I can't believe I have to meditate," I was genuinely happy. And I consider myself really happy now. Relieved a little bit just because it was a lot of hard work. But there are many things that I'm going to take from this, and many questions that I actually have to ask, in terms of Buddhism and how it relates to life in general and current issues. Questions that I have come across is, how do we transfer these ideals? Compassion is the main one for me, but loving and kindness, equanimity. How do we transfer these into a real life situation? How do we get it so that people can feel comfortable with these principles and we can apply these in modern day injustices and social, political, and economic consequences? Because I honestly feel that our world could be so much better if these types of principles, these types of acts, could be looked upon in a more problem-solving / critical thinking manner. And it's a question that I think a lot of leaders, whether that be in politics, whether that be of a school, whether that be of a sports team, or whether that be of a church or a temple, I think all leaders need to look at themselves very closely and think about this, and think deeply. How can we potentially introduce, meditation, for example, into this? And not just as a secular form, but looking at it through its original source lens, and the foundations and the source of it, in Buddhism. And I think this really captures what I've got from this project, or what I've gained out of it. And so while doing these videos and doing my final assessment and this synthesis, I'm really proud. I'm really happy with what I've accomplished. And more than that, I'm just really, really determined to continue along a path where I can take myself out of my comfort zone and then turn those into comfort levels, only to repeat the process and hopefully improve myself as a person. Because this is what the world needs, I believe, is continuous improvement from each and every one of us. We don't need binaries or set in stone definitions and set in stone answers, but we need spectrums where we can continually improve and look upon and expand our thoughts and our minds. This is a class that I really appreciate, and this Freedom Week is special. And it's not something that I'm going to be able to do again, from what I understand. And so, as I conclude this, I would say with the time, dedication, and effort put into this, I'm very satisfied. And I would just like to say thank you, Professor, because you have thought long and hard about this, and you put in the effort to give us this opportunity. And so with that, I end my final synthesis for this Freedom Week project. Thank you.